Hey bestie, welcome back to the Binge Free Bestie Potty. I'm Nick Garbedia. I am a qualified eating disorder and body image therapist. I'm also a recovered binge eater myself, and I am your go-to food freedom hype gal. So, welcome to the Binge Free Bestie podcast. This episode is going to be a little bit special because it is my birthday week. So I turn 32 this coming Friday, so only a couple of days away. And honestly, my grand plans are to do a whole lot of pretty much nothing on Friday. Probably going to sleep in with my cat, Lola, maybe go out for a coffee, go out for a walk if the weather permits. Just taking it slow, soaking it all in, I actually just got back from a really amazing, beautiful week over on the Gold Coast in Australia last week. So that I think counts as the birthday gift, birthday kind of celebration time. So Friday, just going to take it easy, take it chill and relax. But what I wanted to talk about on the podcast today was when birthdays come around, as they do every year, they tend to give us an opportunity to reflect, right? And we're reflecting not just on where we've been and what's coming next, but as a woman, as most of us do, we also might reflect on how your body has changed over the years. And let's get really real about that. When you are a woman and you are in a world that is obsessed with youth and fitness, aging can feel pretty scary. And so these days, yes, I am noticing that I'm starting to not just have one grey hair like I did last year on my birthday. I've actually got a whole lot of friends for that grey hair now, a whole patch up here. I'm noticing things like fine lines and much deeper crow's feet when I'm smiling, and my body is getting a lot softer and curvier. And, well, I just don't look like 17-year-old Nicole anymore, obviously. Thank goodness. Honestly, it's okay with me not to be that girl anymore and not to be in that body anymore, but I do know how hard it can be. And so if you've ever stood in front of the mirror, especially on your B-day, and you're saying, gosh, I used to just look so much better when I was younger, or you find yourself comparing your body to women who are maybe, a decade younger than you on your social media or at the office or wherever you see these women, then this episode of the podcast is going to be for you. Let's unpack why your body is meant to change across your lifetime. And let's unpack how diet culture can turn that into an existential crisis, and what you can do instead of getting into that kind of self-criticism spiral. I want to share some personal stories too, because yes, I feel that stuff too. Even though I've got heaps of heaps of tools in my kite or my toolkit, I still have those wobbly moments, and things like these birthdays can, be a time for celebration and feeling empowered and feeling amazing, but it can also bring up some stuff such as, oh my God, I am aging, my body is changing, and that can be really hard. So we're going to talk about that today. And please stick around until the end because I've got a little birthday gift from me to you. So my B-day, but you're going to get the prezzies. Because if you've been thinking about joining my signature course, The Breakup, then now's going to be the time, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. So let's just dive on in now by starting with the obvious. So, okay, I know, our bodies are not the same as they were when we were 21, right? Or 25, or even last year. That is not a flaw. I know you know that. That is not a flaw. That is just biology. That is actually a blessing. The fact that you're still here right now and that you're having the opportunity to age, that is a blessing. Not everybody's getting that, right? So your body is meant to evolve as you go through these seasons of life. And that is amazing. That is a great thing. But diet culture really, really hates that for us, right? It hates it. It wants to sell us this fantasy that our best body is always going to be, behind us. This kind of thinner version of us, younger version of us, that perkier version of us. And it tells us that any change in our body, whether that's our weight or our shape or, our skin texture, anything like that, any change is a decline. It's not a decline. And if you were not chasing that younger body that you used to have, or that kind of ear-brushed, perky, perfect 23-year-old influencer body, then somehow you're a failure. So yes, I may be slowly but surely becoming what society is calling an old maid. Okay, whatever. It's part of life. And so for my birthday, I want to call out bullshit on that whole thing, that whole demonization of women aging and our bodies changing. Because if I don't call that out, then for me even, I risk spending the rest of my life hating a body that is just simply doing its job. My body is evolving, my body is adapting, and she's protecting me. Okay. And honestly, I just want more for myself than spending the next coming years obsessing over my body, because change is going to happen. It's outside of my control. Yes, there's little things that I can do to alter my appearance, and I definitely do them. I love having copper hair. It's a bit washed out at the moment, so I'm definitely intending to that soon. But I color my hair, I keep it bright and vibrant because it's part of my personality. It's how I love to express myself and show up in the world. It's not because I hate the grays and I bully myself over them and I'm so uncomfortable that I must dye my hair. I know that one day I will fade this out and the grays will come in all their glory, and that is totally cool. I'm not quite ready for that part of life yet. That is going to be an interesting one. But, the truth is, my body has changed. So has yours. And I'm sure that it has changed a lot. I mean, again, just looking at my own process, it's not the aging necessarily. Like, my body has changed through years of chronic dieting, and from those years of binge eating and weight cycling and having had a bariatric surgery, hormonal shifts, chronic illness, trauma, stress, and recovery from most of those things that I just mentioned. So for a very, very long time, I thought that any change in my body made me less attractive, less lovable, less worthy. But of course, if the change was weight loss, then that was okay. That was celebrated. But what I've actually realized is that this body, this one right here, she's been through it. And she has been smaller and she has been bigger. And she has been stretched and scarred and strengthened. And just through all of that, through all of this, my worth has never changed. But of course, I never saw it that way. The only thing that has actually changed between all of those versions of me is my relationship with my body. And when you heal your relationship with your body, that changes everything. That changes everything. So if we just go back for a flash second to see how that looks, I want to take you back to when I was 21. Okay, so again, turning 32 this week. So a decade ago, I was just obsessed with being thin. I wanted to be in the smallest body possible. So was the real issue. Of course, I didn't know that. I didn't see that. At 25, so just a few more years later, I was in the biggest version of my body and I decided to have a gastric sleeve surgery. So that's when they take out most of your stomach through that surgery. And, that was a pretty drastic thing for me to do. I did that not from a place of health or self-love or self-respect. It was not. I'm just going to be honest with you. It was from a place of self-loathing, punishment, desperation, being, at my final straw. And I really truly thought that if I had that surgery and I got back to being in a smaller body, then just everything else in my life would fall into place. So I thought that, once I'm in that body, I'll be confident. He'll love me more. I'll get that promotion. I'll stop binge eating finally because I won't need to do that anymore. And spoiler alert, getting the surgery, losing the weight, reaching that ideal body, it was like sparkly and beautiful for about 6 months. And then the food noise came back into my mind, and so did that persistent looking for flaws and that persistent scrutinization of my body. So, what did I learn? Really, weight. Weight means nothing if you're not doing the work up here. I mean, by the time I was 28, I had started regaining some of that weight that I had lost after my surgery because I was still binge eating, of course, secretly. And I was shit scared. I was so scared. I was so ashamed because I had actually withdrawn all of my first home savings to be able to have that surgery. So I was flat broke. I had invested everything I had to get the surgery, lost the weight, and then was now regaining it. So I felt like an utter failure. I felt like, holy crap, this is it for me because I've had my opportunity and it's a slippery slope from here. So I was just absolutely terrified and felt like a failure. But you know what? That was also the moment, the catalyst where I realized, okay, so you lost the weight, you spent all that money, time, energy, effort getting here, and you're still binge eating. You're still emotional eating. You still look in the mirror and only see flaws. So what's going on here? It's not the weight, is it? It's what's going on in my mind, in my relationship with my body, in my relationship with food. So it was a scary time, that kind of like 28, that little bit of regain, but it was the wake up. It was the catalyst. And it was the catalyst to seeing, diet culture for what it was finally, to actually recognize my trauma that I was carrying and to see what I was doing to myself in order to achieve health or wellness. And if you're listening, I'm doing these kind of like bunny ear things in the air here. Like I said, it was never about health or wellness. I just wanted to be small. So now this week I'm turning 32 and I am in a body that is a bit softer. It is a bit fuller. I will always be a girl who has a booty, and I actually love that. So that is a good thing. And yes, I am older and I look older and I do kind of feel a little bit older, but I'm also the most grounded, the most self-aware, and the most present that I have ever been, and the most empowered actually that I have ever been in all of my life because I know me. I know me now. I trust myself. I'm confident in myself and in my decisions, and I know that I am honestly, truly putting me first and am listening to my body and my intuition and acting on it. And that confidence to be able to do that did not come from shrinking my body. That came from working on that relationship with myself and from that whole healing and recovery journey. So that's my story, right? And I'm sure that a lot of that is probably resonating with you, especially if you're already following me. Like, we all have these thoughts, we all partake in these behaviors because we've all been conditioned by our society. Okay, so it's not your fault, it wasn't my fault either, but it's also your responsibility once you become aware of what's coming on to take some action, to make some changes, because you can't continue to sit here struggling, saying that you're struggling, feeling the struggle, and not taking action, because then that's a choice and you're choosing that reality. And I know it sounds harsh, but come on now, like if you want more for yourself, you've got to do something about it, okay? But let's talk a little bit more about where this comparison with that younger version of you or other women, other women's bodies, why do we compare ourselves at all? Like, why do we do that? I know you probably know why. It's fairly obvious, right? Like, we've all been taught that youth equals value, especially in women, right? We're being taught that thin and smooth skin and wrinkle-free skin means being lovable and even hireable and respected. It's not the same for dudes, is it? I mean, they'll get this beautiful silver fox label. I don't see that floating around for us gals. We're terrified of going grey, although I do see silver and grey-haired women like really coming into their power in all my socials at the moment, which is so cool. And I'm making sure that I'm viewing that kind of content. So when that little voice in my head starts to whisper up and say, holy crap, you need to go dye your hair, there's too many greys, that I can just remember there's some bloody gorgeous empowered woman with those greys and silver hairs. So make sure you find them too. But anywho, like I said, we've been taught since, well, forever, that youth equals value. And that leads to an insecurity as we age. And so our brains want to search for a reference point. So unfortunately, that reference point is very often an image of our younger self or other women who are in smaller bodies or more socially accepted bodies than us right now. And we compare ourselves to them. But I want to ask you something. Just ponder on this for 1 minute. Was she, i.e., this younger version of you, was she actually happier? Was she actually truly, on the whole, happier? Was your younger body actually the better version of you? Because I'll be honest, my 21-year-old version of me, she was in a smaller body. Yep, okay. She wasn't happier. No way. She was exhausted. She was obsessed with food. She was trapped in this cycle of rigid meal planning, workouts that she just absolutely hated, eating bland as food that she did not enjoy at all, and then just binging later and going into that shame spiral. I mean, that wasn't sustainable. There was no freedom in that version of me, and there definitely wasn't like a consistent, sustainable joy, not like I have now. So when I look at that version of me, I can look at her and I can say like, yeah, she's gorgeous. Okay. But I also remember just how loud that food noise was and how much she just beat up and bullied her body all the time, even when it looked like what society said it should look like. So being in a smaller body never gave me any peace, and it really cost me quite a lot to be able to maintain it. So what do you do instead then if you don't want to find yourself spiraling into this comparison either to old versions of you or other women around us? There's a few kind of tips and strategies I'm going to go ahead and give you. The first is I want you to flip the script. So instead of saying things like, oh, I used to look a lot better, I want you to try and just reframe that. Flip the script. So say something like, I used to be so disconnected back then. I didn't know how to listen to my body, but now I'm learning how to treat myself with respect. See the difference there? Another thing is I want you to grieve the ideal, okay? So it's actually okay to feel sadness or discomfort about any change in your body, but I don't want you to confuse that grief with failure. It's not your fault that you're feeling this way, that you're feeling that grief and that discomfort. It's the system. It's the system's fault. So body grief is okay. And I want you to move towards accepting that and practice lots and lots of self-compassion. another wee strategy is all about anchoring into the now. So asking yourself things like, what does my body allow me to do? What does my body allow me to do today? What have I survived? What am I growing into? We are learning how to foster something here by doing something called body neutrality. So you don't need to do this whole body positivity, self-love thing. That is actually quite unrealistic and a massive goalpost for a lot of us, especially if you've struggled with something like low self-esteem, negative body image, or body dysmorphia. Aiming for loving your body we don't need to shoot that shot. So let's go for body neutrality. What can your body do for you? What can you experience through the vessel that is your body? Again, you don't need to love your body, but you do need to learn to come to a place of respect. And my final tip for today is please choose compassion over comparison. So just remembering that our bodies are not meant to stay the same. They're meant to evolve with us. And that is not a bad thing. That is not a flaw. That is proof that you are living, you are alive. I know that I am super grateful to be here celebrating my birthday this week. And I'm grateful for every year that I've had. And I know, gosh, I might not even make it to Friday. We don't know. We just don't know. So let's be grateful for this body that is giving us the experience to live this life. So if your body has changed and you're trying to make peace with that, please know you're not alone in that struggle. Even I am going through that right now too. You're not broken. You're just human. And if you want to break up with binge eating and diet culture and body shame, then my signature program, The Breakup, will help to guide you towards that. And you can also do things like work with me one-on-one as well. And I have an awesome workbook called Embrace Your Body that you can do in your own time as well to help you to foster that body acceptance. So because it's my birthday week, I am giving $200 off the full program, but my birthday is on June the 13th, so the sale expires midnight June the 13th, and that is New Zealand time. And if you are one of the first 5 women to sign up, you get something called Nick in your pocket, which is essentially where you get direct private access to me for 8 weeks from the date that you purchase. So we can either voice note over our socials or WhatsApp, or you can do email. And basically you can ask me any questions as you go through the program and get that direct tailored advice. That's usually valued at $197, but again, first 5 women get that free when they enroll. However, 3 women have already snagged that. So there's 2 left, first come, first served. So the breakup, 8 weeks of transformative content guided by me. I am a registered therapist here in New Zealand, and I specialize in binge eating, emotional eating, and body image concerns. So if you want me to support you through the journey, I would love that. Enroll now. Link will be in the show notes or on the bio of my socials. And that's it. That's it from me for this week. I am here every week on the podcast. It's called Binge Free Bestie. It's on all your favorite platforms. Thank you so much for celebrating my birthday with me, and I am just so happy to be continuing to grow the Binge Free Bestie community. I love you guys so much. I love this work that I do. I feel so fired up about this year, about 32. Like, I have such a really freaking good feeling about what I'm going to be able to achieve and the momentum that I'm building for our community here. So watch this space. Send me a DM anytime if there's anything you think you might like me to add into the Binge Free Bestie universe. I'm always open to ideas or, enhancing my offer suite. So if there's something you think that's missing or something that you'd like to see more of, hit me up. Or just let me know what you thought of this podcast episode, because I love to hear from you. I love feedback. And if you're feeling super extra kind, I would love your help in making sure that this podcast gets further out into the world. And the way that you can do that is by listening, obviously. So thank you so much. And leaving a review and hitting follow. Like, those are the best things that you can do to help me out and grow our little binge free bestie community into a freaking empire. So thank you for being here. I will catch you next week. Have a fabulous night, morning, whatever it is for you in your part of the world, and take care. Okay, guys, anyone who's listening on the live streams, let me press all the buttons here to turn off my podcast recording. Dum and find the tab that you are on. Okay, cool. Alrighty. So that was my first time ever live streaming the recording of the podcast. So I would love to know from you, like, how this has been, the quality, if there was any like lags, if you have any questions. I actually can't see on this. So I'm using an app that is live streaming through to Instagram. I can't actually see if there's any comments or anything like that. So if you do have a question, please just send it to me at DMs and I'm going to have a look now once I get off of this. But thank you for being here. Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed this. I love recording the podcast. I mean, I love talking, as you can tell, probably. I love it. And it's just such an honor to be able to be creating something like this for you guys. And I hope you enjoy it. So that is where I will leave you for tonight. I'm going to go cook some dinner and chill for a bit. And I will be back recording around the same time next week. All right. See ya.